Hello, everyone, and welcome to My Curious Mind podcast. I'm Stephen Rulli, your host, and I'm so excited to have you join us on this journey of discovery. Every episode, we dive into thought-provoking conversations, exploring fascinating ideas, and uncover the mysteries of life that spark our curiosity. Whether you're into science, philosophy, personal growth, or just love to laugh and learn something new, you're in the right place. Before we get started, I did want to mention we do have merch. Please check the link in the bio to buy all things My Curious Mind and help our podcast grow. Also, if you're on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like this video. So, grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's explore the world together. Are you ready? Let's get started.
Okay. And do you want to talk about my books, or you can say this bookshelf?
Right? Go ahead and start.
All right. Yeah. We ready?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, guys. Let's take a look here at some of my book selection. People might be really surprised what I read. People might just think all I read is political stuff. They see some of my Facebook posts, or if you're one of my friends in the fitness world, you might be like, hey, that guy just reads books about working out and fitness. Well, I'll tell you, I read a little bit of everything. Let's take, for example, book right here. This might surprise you that I've read this several times. It's a memoir of Christopher Hitchens. For our younger viewers, he was like, the intellectual, the 1990s, early 2000s. He passed away. I believe it was 2009 or 10, somewhere in that time frame of cancer. The guy was really bright. If he was around now, the way podcasts are on YouTube, we'd really be enjoying him. I don't agree with him on everything. He's a staunch atheist, and I thought he was wrong on the Iraq war, but he's right about a lot of things, and the guy is just bright, and he's got all kinds of charisma. You'd really love listening to Chris Hitchens. And then I have someone else who greatly influenced me. A lot of people talk about George Orwell. People have read his stuff, though. It's a tough read. It's a man from a different time. He fought in, the Spanish Civil War. That's when he kind of pushed back the communist revolution. That kind of shaped everything. And I have 1984 up there, of course. So you can correlate a lot of what George Orwell wrote about today. Like, just for example, when he says war is peace, I coordinate that to what's going on right now, where a lot of people say we have to go to war with Russia to keep peace. Have the biggest war that we've possibly ever had in this planet's history just to keep peace. So constant Orwellian stuff, the communist playbook, it's kind of been there. So, yeah. Then also, too, this might really, then I got, just a random book about a movie star, Billy D. Williams. He's just a cool guy. Yeah. Star Wars fans. Yeah. Lando Calrissian. He's been in a lot of other great movies. Yeah. He was a Colt 45 pitchman. That's how my generation knows him, that in Star Wars. Just, a really cool guy. This book is just unbelievable. The guy's smart. Actors at that time were well-read, well-trained. Just anybody would like this book, even if they're not a Star Wars fan or you never heard of Billy D. Williams. He can tell you about a country that maybe, you didn't live in, it happened before, but you'd really like this. Yep, and then, of course, this might throw some people off here, but I go from all those people to Ben Shapiro. He's my favorite modern, what I consider intellectual, political book-wise. I got more of his stuff than anybody. There's like 5 books from him in my collection. Then, one thing I've been doing since I've been a kid is reading comic books. I still read them. I got The Dark Knight Returns up here. Real good book. This is, I think at the time, or for a long time, is the best-selling, graphic novel comic book of all time. Just, it's Frank Miller's a smart guy. He kind of saw the future, like, maybe they thought they elevated criminals and the criminal element to maybe more of the hero types, and Batman's were the outcasts. You could draw parallels, I think, to that in 2020, and all the rioting. Police are bad, defund police, and some criminals were kind of lionized by some people in society. So he was a little ahead of his time with this, but it's a good read. So I just try to keep my mind open, and I read plenty of things. And people ask me how I keep my mind off of politics, or if I unplug. It's not my life. Obviously, I have other interests.
Yeah. I'm going to check one thing, make sure that we're still rocking. Yeah, we're good.
Was that good?
Yeah, that was good. So, you just got out of a season of heated election.
Yeah, never
Heated
stops.
election.
Now
So-
in another one.
Yeah. Now you're in another one that you're not running, but you're helping out people.
Oh, yeah, I'm helping various candidates around the Collinsville, Maryville area, yeah.
So how, number one, like what got you interested in running for local politics? Like, did you start more locally, like city council, and then you're moving up, or is it just you wanted and I want to make sure I said this right again, District 23 representative?
Maryville.
Yeah, and
Parts of Collinsville, parts of Maryville. 5 precincts in Collinsville, 2 precincts in Maryville.
I gotcha. And so, did you start there, or did you start like more locally around?
Well, the thing is, I work a tight schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I gainfully employed. And I have a personal training, diet coach business on the side as well. So I've always been busy. And I was doing, I got my fitness. I trained myself, and I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu for a while, and I really didn't have time to run for elected office. What I did is, though, I helped candidates. Yeah, I believed it. I've been did that for a number of years before I actually run. I think, first campaign I helped out was like 2016. I ran for my first board seat in 2022. So, I got neck surgery in 2019, and I was 41 years of, combat sports and just hard weight training. Did all of it, just, my disc collapsed. So, I have free time now. I can't, get put in chokeholds anymore or dropped on my head because, my neck might go again. So I had free time, and I'm not used to having it. So I was thinking about running more and more, and then COVID came. I didn't like how the country was treated in COVID. Just overnight, like the martial arts school I was training at the time, closed, restaurants closed, schools closed, barbershops. I couldn't put my finger on it. And then the pot store was open, and hey, it's legal. I'm not getting into that debate whether it should be legal or illegal. I'm not made it's more power to them, but it just didn't make sense for me that something that legal was 6 months ago, not even 6 months ago, maybe 3 months, because it got legal in 2020. It was now open, but someone can't go to school, they can't go to church.
Yeah.
I just didn't like that. That was some authoritarian stuff, George Orwell, 1984 stuff, if you will.
Yeah.
So I didn't like it. I started getting involved more. I started to work on campaigns more. And then a seat came open in 2022. Liz Dalton, she's Democrat, that kind of had my district. They redistricted, but most of my district was hers. She had for a long time. So it's completely open. I ran as a Republican, and that was it. Democrat did not fill out paperwork in 2022, so I got it on without anything. And I helped a lot of other campaigns in 2022. I got real busy, real active, spent hours a week. It was almost like a second job. Then I did the same thing in 2024. I did have an opponent. It was a very competitive election. I did win. Once again, I helped other candidates when I was doing my district. I was helping Jay Keevan. Unfortunately, he lost to Katie Stewart. It's going to take a lot to get her, period. She seems to have a lot on Edwardsville. She won, I think, 24 out of 25 precincts. Something to that effect. I could be off by a little bit, but she won it by a landslide because I think he had her up until that point. So, but I won. It's historically a Democrat area, I think I looked at the books. I figured up I was a -6. I ended up being a +5, so that's a big turnaround. Wish I would have won by more than just 5, but I'll take it. It's the first time Republicans pulled it off. So it was a competitive election. There was 7 competitive county board races where the Democrats had 7 candidates. Republicans had 7. We won all of them.
Yeah.
Some of them soundly.
Yeah.
So Democrats didn't put anybody up, for a countywide office. So they're kind of on their heels, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't want to get into the negative parts of this, but they really took the gloves off and got pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Looks like they're doing it again.
Yeah.
In the spring election. Didn't work in the fall. Don't know why they're doing it now.
I think that's kind of like a negative thing. Like when I think of politics, it's just like it's something that we've lost the old, we can disagree and still be cordial with each other, still be like talking to each other. It just seems like now it's like, hey, if I'm running Democrat, you're running Republican, like I got to go for your neck. And and I'm sure it stemmed from 2016 because that kind of debate's kind of
Right.
changing, but and way of doing things. But it's just like it seemed like it's just gone super downhill to now. It's like within local elections, it's like, hey,
You're right.
I got to try to go for this guy's neck, and it's like it's not how it should be.
Well, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. This is just an observation I made. I watched a speech, the president's speech this week. It was good. I like wish you would have shaved about a half hour to 40 minutes off. And I get the first 10 minutes, people banging their cane and you had to have somebody thrown out. But I was thinking, the Democrat politicians acted like rowdy pro wrestling fans. They were holding up signs, making noise. It was just really disrespectful.
Yeah.
That was a mistake in a lot of ways. The American public just had no class. And plus, they went pro wrestling with Donald Trump, which they'll lose every time. He's calling them out from his microphone on the crowd. They played his game and they lost.
Yeah.
Plus, they just, I don't know. I couldn't, for the people who hold the highest offices in the country to act that way. And I listened to some of their interviews afterwards. They're laced with profanity and F words. And they sounded like TikTok influencers. They didn't sound like elected officials. I think the Democrat Party is just kind of struggling. And I think, unfortunately, locally, they mimicked them. I know you follow local meetings. They get contested, and it's kind of the same thing. People yelling from the crowd, even Democrat kind of politicians, getting into it with the crowd. So it's like, calling this real unprofessional conduct. Maybe they see it on a grand scale. They think that's okay. I'm not saying Republicans are perfect. They have some stuff that happens in meetings too, but for the most part, it's kind of one-sided for who's disrupting meetings.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know. For me, it's kind of like I don't want to say scary because it's not like I'm scared of it, but it's like it's very disheartening to see people be so divided, and it's like nowadays it's like a religious. You have to be part of this cult, like the one cult or the other cult, and instead of people having common sense and say, hey, he may say something I don't agree with, but it doesn't mean I have to absolutely hate him and shout his name down and try to get him canceled and stuff like that. And it's really, really, really I don't know, disheartening. And
no, I completely agree. It makes people not want to do it because I tried to recruit some candidates. And they're like, no, I saw what you went through. Or, no, I saw what that person went through. I don't want to go through that. I want my family to go through that. I want my kids
I would say as a voter, it makes me scared to vote because it's what if I vote wrong? And then my friends voted the other way.
And what stinks is, and I have friends of all persuasions, Democrat, Republican, Democrat officials, one of my closest friends in life. We've known each other since we were kids. But it's just one of those things to where now I don't want to get to the point to where Republicans can only be friends with Republicans and Democrats can only be friends with Democrats because you really close off, a good number of the people in the country that you can't hang out with, man. That's not cool because we all have a lot of similarities. And I think a lot of it is too, politics have invaded all aspects of life. If I'm watching a superhero movie, they're starting to cut back a little bit because they're tanking. No, I'm seeing a political message. I watched this TV show. Oh, political message. Oh, here I'm watching a football game and they're like, come on, give it a rest.
Yeah.
That's one of the people, because people think I take politics a lot more seriously than I do, but I don't, because I completely unplug lots of times. If every political message I agreed with was in a superhero movie, that would turn me off. I just want to see a superhero movie.
Yeah.
I want to see the Incredible Hulk beat the crap out of a lot of people. I'm not trying to hear, my talking points repeated to me.
Yeah.
I want to see Batman catch the Joker,
Yeah, and it's especially for young kids.
Right.
Young kids should not be thinking about what political party they align with. They should be thinking about being a kid.
Being a kid, yeah. I listen to my parents, like most kids, about who to vote for. The 80s, of course. My parents were Republicans, so I was a big Reagan guy. I didn't know much about Reagan back then. I was so young. Same thing with Bush. Didn't know much about him. I looked at his presidency as I got older. I'm like, well, the first Bush, it's okay. It wasn't great. Second one wasn't a good president at all. So it's just let kids be kids and just let us be adults and have fun. Don't put politics in our face all the time. People talk about it at parties all the time, too. I'm involved in politics, and I tell people, look, man, I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about a Netflix series I'm watching. Yeah. Let's talk about the UFC. If you're still a wrestling fan, I am. Let's talk about that. Let's not music, something else. I don't want to. I got to turn it off.
Yeah. And me and my buddy I was telling you about, he's a wrestler. We were talking about this. Like, it is crazy how politics has not gotten the WWE, but I feel like that is why it's so.
Yeah,
good.
you can take a breather. And the thing is too with politics, it's in our life so much, and I'm not going to go. How do I phrase this without thinking I want to mix religion and politics too much? People don't go to church as much. They don't have a sense of community, or they just don't have a sense of community in general. They don't do stuff around the neighborhood. There's not neighborhood block parties like big roasts and stuff. And I think with the absence of religion and community, people think politics is religion. Nothing can stop it. If this happens, it's the end of the world. And if I've had presidents lose, I've had candidates lose that I supported. My life's not over. It'll get better. I have hope. But if you think that maybe human beings are the highest power out there, or people who are in control of everything, and there's nothing greater than some smart human being in the United States government, that would give me a grim outlook on life.
Yeah. And
maybe some of these people think, Donald Trump, oh my God, that's because the ultimate power to them is in the White House. It's not to me, of course.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian, but, and I'm not saying you shouldn't automatically be a Christian. You can, I have friends who are atheists, but it's just hey, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
You guys lost this time. There'll be another Democrat president at some point, and the country's not going to end. Or what do they say? The democracy.
Yeah.
And that's silly because you're a smart guy. We live in a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
How often do you hear democracy in a day's time? It's just crazy. You listen to these podcasters, these cable news hosts, these politicians, threat to democracy. We don't live in one.
Yeah.
We live in a constitutional republic. The word constitution is not a play on words. It is a constitutional republic. I mean, if they knew anything about the backstory, actually Christopher Hitchens writes in his book a good little piece about Jefferson.
Yeah.
He didn't like the Greek style of democracy. He thought it'd break the country up like ancient Greece was, Athens, Sparta, Arcadia. So, and he liked the old Roman kind of style constitutional republic before the Caesar system and things got really out of hand there, as we all know that fell.
Yeah.
So it's just people just feel comfortable regurgitating that lie that we live in a democracy.
Well, especially the kind of the my grandparents' generation, they take news as law, and I'm and I try to tell them hey, there's not many news. I'll watch the news for just to see what's going on in the world, but even then, it's so politically charged, and it's all about politics. It's man, I just kind of want to know, and I don't know much about our local news just because I don't really. I got Netflix. I don't pay subscription, but the main news on TV, it seems like even if you go to MSNBC, even Fox or even CNN, it's just all politics all the time.
Yeah.
So I think we need to know more about other things. I know obviously they run our country. It's important to know who's running our country and how they're running it, but it also is funny how when one person's running it, it's all about how they're running it, and when another person's running it, it's all hey, we don't know what's going on.
And it's just people got to take it. They got to control their own lives. They got to get involved in local politics too, which is someone who's. I've knocked thousands of doors around here over the years. I can't tell you how many. I was out today. So many people do not know about these spring elections. They don't know anything about the candidates because the information that's really harder to get a hold of. That's why I like to support local media like this. Mm-hmm. But boy, they know everything that what Democrat senators said word for word, or anything Trump said word for word. Yeah. So that stuff, I'm not telling you not to follow that, but you really got to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, people are just starting to get to know me around here because I've been 2 terms and I've been to their houses so much.
Yeah.
But man, maybe 1 out of 4 know who I am when I first, or even heard of the county board, even knew what the county board did. When I first started to knock doors, I'm oh, wow, okay. And the information's just not out there. It's not as accessible.
Yeah. And I thought, so what got me kind of interested in this local election is
it's a hot one.
And I had no idea what it's like.
Right.
And I'm I feel like if I'm going to, and I thought about my kids because I have 2-year-old twins, and I'm if I want to plant my roots in a community, that is going to affect me the most out of anything. Now,
Sure.
what the president does, yeah, obviously it's going to affect me, but it's kind of a trickle down.
I completely agree. Well, what he does is not going to hit the county administration building.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of cuts initially. The local Democrats were freaking out, fear mongering. So Chairman Slusser put out a fact based statement that was beautiful. He just said, "Hey, this is just fear mongering," and he took a little stuff for it, but he's right. Mm-hmm. And I called out the elected officials in the area, dude. I'm like, "You're stoking fear. Call up Chris and just talk to him." He was right. The changes Trump's doing is not going to affect Madison County. And these people that get on Facebook and, I showed you screenshots earlier. Yeah. That stuff's safe forever. Yeah. You go lose your mind and say something on Facebook. It's not like you're talking to your buddy and, hey, don't tell anybody. I mean, it's there. So, and obviously we're going to talk about today, I'm sure, some local controversies. There's some people that I call on their past actions, their past social media posts that caused a stir in the community. And they're mad at me for it. They're like, accusing me of misinformation, being some bad guy, starting trouble. Well, no, I'm just calling you on what you did and what you said. And some of these elected officials, I don't know what it is, maybe because of people that I hung around the Republican Party who were like the focal points. Man, they were class, they were business, they dressed good, they talked good, they conducted themselves well. They did not start trouble like that on social media, or they did not cause trouble for other elected officials, other governing bodies. There was good communication. Yeah. They carried themselves with dignity. And I think some people in this county dismiss that. Like, if you have an issue that affects me, give me a call. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll tell you, there was, we talked about this. I hate beating a dead horse, but this was a pain in the last summer. The air conditioner was broken to Humane Society for 24 hours. Well, there's a rumor going around by somebody who's an elected official, was helping on some campaigns for the county board, said, we need a new county board. This AC unit's been broke for 5 years. That makes sense to you that an air conditioning unit would be broken in a government building for 5 years? Government building. It was broke for 24 hours, so it's just like that created a stir. The news was there. Email works flowed. I took phone calls from concerned citizens, rightfully so. But it was complete misinformation. All this could have been handled with a phone call. Hey, Paul, what's going on with this air conditioner? Oh, it's not what you think. It's only been broke 24 hours, not 5 years.
Yeah. Now, if they said like the air conditioner's had a problem for 5 years, I can kind of get that, but not like but I still, that'd be
it was
hard for me to believe.
There was no retraction, no apology, and I called the person on it, didn't like it. They got feelings hurt. I'm like, well, you caused trouble for another elected official. You didn't have the courtesy to call him and ask him what's going on. So,
I think that's just because even as a teacher,
right.
And it's crazy. I had to have a conversation with some of my students this week. Is like, because they'll tell their parents something, and their parents won't contact me about it.
Sure,
they'll contact my boss.
Oh,
and I try to tell them, I'm like, hey, like sometimes what your middle school student says is not how it happens.
Yeah,
and sometimes it is. If I make a mistake, I want somebody to call me out on my mistake. But the thing that was said, which I'm not even going to say it because it was just so stupid.
Right.
But the thing that was said was just completely not the case whatsoever. And I had to have a conversation with my boss about it. And luckily my boss is a very caring. She's like, hey, tell me what happened. And I told her my side, and she's like, okay, this was just obviously not necessarily a lie, but just like they miscommunicated the way that I said something, and it was, but it turned into it was like every time a student had an issue, like the parent would go to the principal, the parent wouldn't come to me. And I'm trying to get to a point where because I'm a first year teacher,
sure,
I'm still learning this stuff out. And I had to have the rough conversation with my boss, like, hey, I feel like I got a target on my back.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have a target on my back. And it's like, and so I had to have a conversation with some of my students. I'm just like, hey, I understand that some of you might not like the way I teach, or I might not be your favorite teacher. Like, that is fine. I promise you, I can live with that. But let me know, or have your parent come talk to me, because when you go to my boss, you're affecting, my kids depend on me to have this job to feed them.
Sure.
Not to get dramatic about it, but I'm like, you get when I get complaints from my boss, that puts my job in jeopardy.
Sure.
Especially if it's not right. You know what I mean? And so, and I was telling him not to get over dramatic, but don't affect, because because when I have to start changing what I'm doing,
Right.
Be from stuff that's not even true, like that affects me as a person, but also it could affect my job. Luckily I have a good boss. Like, let's say I had like a bad boss and they're just believed everything that they heard, then I'm fired. Now I'm looking for another job. You know what I mean?
I totally get that because I have great management, great bosses I work with. Good bosses can make a company good. If there's a management change ever, like in here, it has to be a principal, can really change the way a company or like a school is. Change your everyday environment.
Yeah.
Could go from good to bad quick. So yeah, communication's key. And like I said, the elections they're getting competitive. They're getting way nasty, and I don't think they need to do that. We can start with all the elections if you want. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's just start with we'll start with city council.
Okay. Well, see, here's the thing with the city council. I like all three of them.
Yeah.
Donna's good. She does good work now. Eric Nago, I talked to him. He's an impressive guy, knowledgeable guy. He's knows how government works, good work ethic guy. And then David Seaton, the Republican Party, did come out and endorse him. I endorsed him. He's a good guy. Got a lot of good ideas. He ran the Italian Fest. But he's the one I'm publicly endorsing. The other two are fine. I can live with either one. They're both good people. I wish all three of them could be city councilmen.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if whatever one loses runs for it again in the future, they're all three good candidates. Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So they're all good. We can't lose.
Yeah, and I don't know much about Donna except what I see on Facebook, but everything I see seems good.
And she's a businesswoman. She's got a small business. I like that. And she got that City Scoops. Yeah. I mean, she's a business owner. That gives Main Street flavor. Let's put more stuff on Main Street, more successful stuff. Collinsville's got a great Main Street.
Yeah, I think we have.
She's part of it. So.
I think we have like a Nashville feel on. But
on a much smaller scale. Right?
I'd like to see like when I'm thinking, I'm like, man, we could get a rooftop bar,
Hey, yeah, we don't. Yeah, and the thing about Collinsville, I think we got the best. I mean, we got Old Harold down there. That's a great venue in the summer. Just their food, the stuff they distill. I mean, you got McDill's. I mean, you talk about food. That is food right there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great business owner. He's an institution.
Yeah.
The McDill name. So Collinsville's a great town. We got a lot of good stuff going on. As far as the city council, we're in good hands, I think, either way with this election, no matter what to win. Our city manager's a real competent guy, real smart guy. Derek Jackson, our mayor's a good guy. He works with everybody really good.
Yeah.
Our police department's top notch. I mean, we're lucky. We got a great community here.
Yeah, I agree. And when we're in the process now of next place to move, and it's so hard to be like, we want to leave Collinsville because it's just so good. And,
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And even with coaching football, I coach football for my hometown and I coach football here. And it was the level of community here compared to where I'm from a town I grew up in was kind of, I wouldn't say a big name, but I was known.
Sure.
Growing up through, it's just crazy. And I'm all like, oh, this is what community can really be like. And it feels small, which I guess technically it is, but I grew up in a 1,000. How many people we got in Jerseyville? 10,000?
See, we're about,
we're bigger than that.
Collinsville.
25. So about double the size.
Yeah, Collinsville's about 25. Then you got Maryville who comes to the school too. So it's 35, 36,000 people. Hopefully we're getting a little population back. Yeah. And I do write articles for Collinsville Daily News for a wrestling team. Jordan Mays, he's a good friend of mine. I've known him since he's so young. When I knew he was a lot younger than me. I'll be 47 in 19 days. I didn't realize he's only 28. I've known him since he was in high school. Just a really nice kid. He's always really mature. He's, genetically gifted. He's built like a tank and always has been.
He's produced
great athlete. What a great coach. They have such a good young coaching staff. They put so much time in. They just volunteer it. And they're building a good wrestling program. I'm excited. We had a state champion.
I know. And she's
probably going to be an Olympian. She's tough, man.
She was really, really good. I remember watching her as a freshman. I'm all like,
oh, yeah.
I'm like, man.
Yeah, we had a bunch of girls go up there, man. We had 4 girls go to state. 2 of them were freshmen.
They had a really good. One of the freshmen I watched from videos that my buddy James Gurley we talked about him.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, she was really good too. I don't know her name or anything.
She's Taylor Dawson.
Taylor. I worked at Collinsville when she was a freshman.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to see her
Good
all 4
future, man.
years
Yeah.
just dominating.
Yeah, I really wonder what she's going to do. Like, I mean, she can obviously wrestle in college. You would know. Illinois State's a big deal.
I think
Illinois is a tough wrestling state.
Yeah, I think she's going to Lindenwood.
Okay, she's going to do good there. I know she said something about MMA. I heard like one thing, so she would dominate there.
Oh
yeah.
Gosh, yeah,
just one of those. She's made for combat sports.
Yeah, and she has the right attitude for it.
Yeah,
she's just tough. Just a tough kid.
Yeah, real polite, real nice. Yeah, and I'll tell you, so Collinsville is a great town. We got good city management there at the city council. The township, that's the fireworks, huh? Yeah. There's some fireworks there, right? Yeah. I have a good relationship with Derek Cox. I've had a great working relationship since he's been the township supervisor, since I've been a county board. Guys' numbers speak for themselves. Yeah. I mean, the guy's done a great job. He's provided more services, got the grants, the taxes. He's done great with there. And I can tell you from someone who looks at the books of all the townships, we're the most well-run in the county. I mean, not that them are terrible or anything, but I think Collinsville's the best. Maybe some would argue that, but I think they're definitely the best. So they've done a great job with him as the leader, so why would you change it? Yeah. His opponent, Chuck Oberfell, I like him. He's a nice guy. Yeah, no, he's a real nice guy. Chuck goes to my church, so I know Chuck. Yeah, he's a great guy. I'm nothing negative to say about him. I just don't know what he's going to do as a supervisor. If he was a supervisor, we could work together. He didn't say what he was going to do better than Derek, because that's a high bar. Yeah. If Derek did a bad job, that's one thing. He's done a great job. Yeah. I'll be supporting him. And I said, he's a good guy. Was before and always will be after the election, but I'm going with Derek because of our relationship. Now, the trustee race is very interesting. Matt Gunther and Clint Ball ran with the Republican Party 4 years ago. Clint Ball still is. They chose to endorse him, and, since they did, I will. Matt went another direction. I'm not going to say he's like far left, but it seems like he's more with the left wing in Collinsville. He didn't get our endorsement, but even talked about. I don't know. They seem to be compatible with Derek. If they say the townships run good, and he's the lead. If he had a bad supervisor, it wouldn't be run good. So I think it's maybe style with them, personality. They're probably mad at me now. I know they are because we're having political differences, but there's political. Those guys are my friends outside of politics. They will be after the election. Obviously, we're keeping our distance because of the race, but I'm fine with them. Hopefully we can be friends afterwards. Yeah. On my end, we'll get it, but I think they take things a little more personal. Yeah. Me and Clint got an argument in the township meeting. I was kind of taken aback. I was doing a public comment. Everything I was saying was true. I didn't bring it by his name, didn't bring a pronoun. He tried to cut me off and call a point of order, which he doesn't have the power to do. The only person who can do that is the chairman. I kind of told him that. I thought, okay, he got emotional. He thought I was attacking his political ally. So sat back in my seat. 45 minutes later, he yells at me on his microphone from his, from where he's sitting. I don't know how many political meetings you've been to. That doesn't happen ever. Elected officials do not yell into the crowd at people. Because I gave him a reaction back. I told him to apologize to me. He's being disrespectful. He doesn't know what the point of order was. I didn't know how to handle it. It caught me off guard. I'm like, because I've never done that. I can't tell you how many county board meetings I sat on. Yeah. But I've never seen a county board member yelling to the crowd at somebody from their microphone. We'd be censured immediately. So that kind of caught me off guard. I think he let his emotions get the better of him. But for the most part, he's got a good voting record. I don't have a problem with his work. I think they take things just so personal. Man, this is politics. This is nothing. Yeah. Let's put your personal stuff, keep your cool. You're an elected official. Like I said, maybe it's because I come from the county board and people I was around, man, dignity. Paul wears a suit to the meeting where, keep your cool. Don't yell. Don't scream. Don't engage like that. Don't get personal. Yeah. It's got heated on the county board before. There's 26 people who have the personality to go out there and win an election. So sure, you'll get some arguments, but some of the arguments I've seen at these local meetings, the way they go at each other, then they go at people in the crowd, that's just amazes me. Yeah. So
it's not like I don't know, that kind of like is like a stand-up comedian work at the
right.
That's not what that is.
No, and I think what a lot of elected officials, they just need to go sit on other meetings of governing bodies. Like I've sat on meetings at the state house. Obviously, all the county board meetings. So I kind of get it. If you're just doing like the local, maybe the township, or another board. You might, the city council, it's all business. It's professional too. You got Derek Jackson, you got the mayor there. Chief of police is usually there. But yeah, and then like the other two candidates, Brad Sewell, great guy, pillar of community kind of guy. He's done great work so far as, the township trustee. Vote for him again. Margot Crowell, she's running too for the first time. She's got great ideas. She's going to support the Supervisor Cox, keep the ball rolling. Why change things up? Mike Prosser, don't know a lot about him. Got a good reputation around town. I just never spoke to him, so I don't really have an opinion on him, honestly. I've read some of his stuff. It doesn't sound bad.
Yeah. So with your position,
sure.
So what are like your, I would say, kind of your responsibilities, or like what is that you do? What is it that you do essentially? Because I don't know much about.
Oh wow, a lot of oversight. We look at the county budget. We vote on zoning resolutions. Oh my God, we do so much. Like vote on, I'm on the transportation committee. We vote on tons of highway projects. Any budget that goes through this county for something, we look at. We oversee it. The county tax rate, we look at it. Certain projects that are going to happen or not happen could cost the county tens of millions of dollars, or zero if we don't do it. Lot at play. And that's when our meetings are so different than others, because we talk amongst each other so much before a meeting. Yeah. As a county board meeting, a full county board meeting with all the stuff we vote on, that could go 10, 15 hours. We work a lot of things out before we get to the floor. And it seemed like the township meetings, they try to work things out on the floor instead of figuring out that, hey, maybe it's a bad idea before we even take it to the floor. Like with the warming center. They want to turn the senior center into a warming center. Like, that's been a thing of controversy. I think Matt Gunther's for it. It's kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It kind of sounds like he's for it. Ashley Stewart is definitely for it. I mean, I showed you the post. She said she wanted to vote on it to turn it into a warming center. And I respect that point of view. I wholeheartedly disagree with it. It's not feasible for the senior center. I don't know why she brought it up. She didn't talk to me. I mean, that's most of downtown's me. Linda Wolf kind of intersects with me right around the senior center. Mm-hmm. As far as I don't know, other elected officials were talked to, no city council members, no city manager, nothing. So it's really not feasible.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, that should have been discussed before. That never should have made the floor. But it made the floor, it caused a spectacle. Maybe having buyer's remorse on it. You put it out there on Facebook. Now you got some people mad at you.
I think that's just that's a hard one to.
Right.
Either way, like, especially, I would say I would not want to be in the spot to vote against it, because then it's all like, why don't you want it? You know what I mean?
Well, I would do. Well, that's a winner because people don't want a warming center on Main Street. I could possibly for a warming center being on a location, but here's my thing: if you really wanted all these activists around town, or the few elected officials that do. So I don't want to put words in Matt's mouth like he wants it, because I'm not sure. Kind of hints at that he does, but kind of doesn't. And I don't know where Ashley's at with it now, but she's not going to be. She's not running for re-election. I don't mean to bring her name up all the time, but she's never brought this up. So if they're really for it, okay, find another building yourself. Get together all these activists on Facebook that stir the pot.
Yeah.
Get a location, raise the money, figure it out. I just don't think dumping it at the senior center and putting a burden on the taxpayers and the people at the senior center, all the employees at the township, I just don't think they could handle that.
Me and David had a really good conversation about it, just because it's something that yes or no, like it's a good idea, like you said.
Yeah,
it's a great idea.
I just think that's the wrong place.
Yeah, and it's finding the right place with the right the right foundation, the right building, the right resources.
Sure.
But then also, that is 100% a volunteer-based organization. It's not one that's going to make money at all. So
no. I mean,
so people are going to be like to run that many volunteers. It's going to take. In theory, it's a great idea, but it's a lot more planning than just like, hey,
There's a lot more work. Yeah, let's just. And that's what I'm saying. I thought I was getting the vibe. They thought it was a good idea. Dump it on the township. Let them figure it out. Let the taxpayers pick up the check. I mean, I could go on for a while about all the reasons we couldn't do it. Like, you'd have to have some kind of security there. You'd have to hire private security. It's expensive. Or you'd have to pay an off-duty police officer, because the chief just can't pull, or the shift commander can't pull a policeman off the street just to send them in there all night.
Yeah.
So you talk about a lot of moving parts, a lot of expenses, a lot of liabilities, new insurance. I mean, it would be an undertaking. And I just think the senior center is the wrong place for it.
Yeah.
And, the other race that people are talking about, of course, is, Mr. Pete Paletti. He's been the assessor. Oh, I might be off by a year or two, but I don't think I am. I think if he wins, this will be year 47, 48, 49, 50.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And then, he's running against Chuck Markowitz. He wants to shrink the size, if not possibly get rid of the assessor's office in the future and then have the county do it, because a lot of the towns in the county got absorbed by the assessor's office in the county building, which they got the power to do. It saved the township, I think, $350,000 a year. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's been talked about. Chuck said he's got a new vision, and so Mr. Paletti was at that last meeting and he spoke his piece. It was really unusual to see an elected official speak for like a half hour. I guess every meeting's different. That would never happen on the county board. Doesn't go to the office, and I'm not disparaging. I'm just saying what he said. He doesn't go to the office, and first meeting I've seen him at, he said he's not required to by law. And it's, he's right. It is a part-time job, but it has a good salary. I think 60 a year and some good medical. So
it's more than I make on my full-time jobs.
More than a lot of people make. That medical. Yeah. So, that race is what it is. If you think, Pete's doing a good job and want to continue the same way, that means your guy. If you want a new vision and maybe, shrink it, spend less money, Chuck's your guy. So, that's how the race is going to go in the township. So that's who I'm supporting, who I'm not. I said, none of it's personal. I don't really dislike anybody running. I hope they understand that what I'm talking about is we'll be friends. If you win, we have to work together regardless.
Yeah.
So we got to have a good working relationship.
Yeah. And that's another thing is like, and even going back to what we were talking about with when President Trump was talking, like you have to be able to work with each other, and the fact that our people that people voted for, like the top positions, are acting like that, like it's just like, how is that saying anything to the American people about unity at all? And it's like,
well, and you bring up a good point. They got it to the place where we're at, to where you got to have a super majority of Republicans or a super majority of Democrats to get anything done, because they won't work with each other. And that's probably never going to happen, I don't think, right now at this point. It'd have to be a big flip flop around the country. So, they need to bring it down a notch. Like I said, I think of course the Republicans have their hand in it too. The way the Democrats conducted themselves since 2016, since Trump got it, they changed the landscape. And do the Republicans do aggressive stuff back to them sometimes? When they do, absolutely. You can only attack people so much before you get a response, man. And that's why I tell all these people that are throwing all these body blows and politics and getting rough, and then when you call them on it, they act like you're attacking them. Like, you keep going at people, you're going to get a response.
Yeah.
Not everybody. A lot of people will get bullied. They don't want to deal with the fighting and the bull, but some people are going to respond back to you. You just can't do that forever.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is, we'll come back to politics, but I wanted to talk about, I saw that preparing for this, that you were a bodybuilder at one time.
Still am. Yeah. My last competition was in 2021. I won the IPE Master World Championship. Yeah. The IPE is the biggest drug tested organization, I think, in the world. We get a lot of good athletes.
Yeah.
It's just drug tested for PDs, polygraph, urination. I started doing those in 2007. I can't tell you how many urine and polygraph tests I've taken over the years. A lot. I've done 23 shows. I was going to do one this year. I want to do it in 2024 because I like to do multiple shows every third year. Yeah. I like to let my body rest, make some gains, mind rest. But, 2024, I had to get reelected, so that year was out. I got an injury last year. Freak accident in the gym. A gym broke on me when I was doing the bench press. The dumbbells rocked back and tore my rotator. So I got that fixed. So this year's probably out, so I'm still healing. I'll go get in 2026. I'll bodybuild. Be 47 in 19 days. I'll bodybuild till I can.
Yeah.
When is that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I did martial arts competitions. I was 41. I couldn't. I got steel in my neck now. I got this scar.
Yeah.
So, there's a shelf life and expiration date for everything. Not being as physically durable as I am in my older age, I have more time for politics.
Yeah.
Because I'm the kind of person, I'm really busy and I need something to stimulate me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, politics isn't a competition like I'm used to, but I take it that way. I want to win. I work hard for my candidates. I donate my money, which is something more important than money is my time. I can't have that back, especially at this point in my life, because I've lived more years than I'm going to continue to live. My life's more than half over, more than likely. I don't think I'm making 94. You know, I'm a healthy guy, but come on. Who makes it that long? Yeah. You know?
Not a lot anymore.
I mean, there's really ever, there was always like those exceptions of really old people in their 90s, but man, few and far between.
Yeah. So bodybuilding, like, did you just like in high school, you just working out and you just said, hey, this is something that I want to do one day? Or was it like, how did that motivation hit you?
Let's see, being a kid of the 80s, everything was larger than life. Yeah. You know, our biggest movie star was Arnold Schwarzenegger. He had all kinds of charisma. Look how the guy was built. You know, I'm watching pro wrestling. I love pro wrestling. Me and you talked about. I still watch. I've been watching since I was 6. Been doing that, reading comic books since I could read. Still do both. But like the pro wrestlers, then were just they were large. They were massive humans. Yeah. I mean, Hulk Hogan was a 6'7", 325-pound man who was just gigantic. Big John Studd was a little bigger than him. Andre the Giant was literally a 7'5" guy with like a size 30 ring. I mean, they were just so larger than life back then. All the Road Warriors, you know, the Von Erich family, the Ultimate Warrior. These guys were larger than life. They were, they had the bodybuilding physiques, but they were wrestlers, and you just didn't see people like that walking on the street. Yeah. Like, I've never seen a guy the size of a young Hulk Hogan walking the streets of Collinsville. No. Like, if you ever saw people like that, they had that wow factor. Yeah. Like, if you saw Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 80s, let's say you didn't know he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, that guy's somebody. Mm-hmm. So that's what got me into it, the lifting weights. And I started training at a young age. Even before I started lifting weights, I started liking push-ups, pull-ups. My grandpa was really big into working out. Yeah. And then I got into the lifting in high school. I took to it. I was doing a lot of taekwondo and jiu-jitsu and stuff. I liked the lifting. I liked it. And my body responded to it good, honestly. So I just kind of went with it.
I think everybody should. Like, I wish there was a way we could put into a PE curriculum. Like, everybody should take a martial art of some.
It's good discipline, yeah.
And it's just good for your mental. And it's like, I will never expect my daughter to grow up and be get into an altercation and box a man. Like, it's hard. It would be hard for her to win that. Like, but
it's better than not knowing anything else.
But I would.
And like, what I like is girls wrestling, because most physical altercations in real life come down to wrestling. Like, these girls, they're good girl wrestlers, man. Mm-hmm. They could. I mean, the average man might grab, and he might grab on something more than he can handle. Yeah. And be on his back because they know how to wrestle. Because wrestling's a martial art.
Yeah, it is.
If you've ever wrestled someone who knows how to wrestle or knows jiu-jitsu or judo, it's like a fish out of water. It's bad.
Well, I want mine. Like, I want both my kids to do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. She may not be able to knock somebody out with a knockout punch, but she could slip a guy and choke him out.
He said that, not me.
But yeah, I want. I'm gonna put. I push for, and I tell this to all athletes.
Great discipline.
You should do, because it teaches you that you are not as good as you think you are, but also teaches you, like, hey, I did that. What else can I do?
Well, and it's always, you realize there's always somebody higher on the food chain, because, like, I'll just give you this kind of comparison. Like, ask anybody, who's the toughest guy you know? Then you might say a name, and then that guy's got the toughest guys he knows, and it keeps going up and up. So you're never too confident. You're never thinking, like, anybody who thinks they can beat up everybody or most of the people, is really mistaken. You just don't know what's out there. Yeah. So martial arts gives you that kind of humbling experience. Like, you might be the top dog at your school. You might go visit another school, and you might just be in the middle of the pack. Mm-hmm. You just don't know. And martial arts teaches you discipline. I've hung out, I have friends, a lot of them are martial artists, and I've been out socially with them. They don't get in fights, man. They're laid back, cool guys. Yeah. You'd be surprised, jiu-jitsu, man. After a good practice, we'd whip out comic books. What do you read now? We got that Spider-Man. Yeah. You see that Captain America Civil War. It's just.
Well, then that's like those comments that people were like saying, like, oh, let's go to this and beat this guy up. It's like, you can tell it's not somebody who is a trained fighter.
No, it's.
Me and my buddy Devin that I was talking to.
Yeah, that's a good podcast.
Yeah,
I like.
We were like, we talked about, like, when the time is necessary, we know we can handle it, but we're not searching. No. You don't search for that stuff.
Well, and here's the thing: when you get into it, I work security in nightclubs and bouncing. I can't tell you how many fights I broke up or with how much stuff I got hit with. I don't have all my teeth. They got knocked out not doing any martial art. That's all controlled. It was, breaking up a fight and catching one when I wasn't looking. Fights get bad. When adults fight each other, there's no one to break it up. It's just not like a simple handshake, man. You beat me up, like you're fighting your buddy in high school. You had disagreement with. It's bad. Someone's going to the hospital, possibly dead. Things can go. You can have a life-changing experience with a physical altercation just in a matter of seconds, and then you regret it. So, violence should always be the last resort.
Yeah. And
I correlate that to these wars going on that people keep throwing fuel on the fire. Yeah. Like we talked about that, with Orwell. I mean, just to throw fuel on the fire with this Russia-Ukraine conflict, man, that could go so sideways. Yeah. I mean, it really stinks that he invaded him and took his land, but thing probably should have been avoided. I think if he would have had good leadership, they had Biden and Boris Johnson, Zelensky, they were just kind of pushing for it. They got it, and they had no way to stop it. I don't understand people's logic. Do they want the United States military to engage Russia? Because you can't keep Ukraine's not going to win that thing because Putin is taking some losses. He's pulling punches. He wants to govern, take treasure, and rule over it. He doesn't want to decimate the country. If it gets to the point to where he does that, it's going to get even worse than it is now. It's horrible now.
Yeah, when I worked my midnight shift, I would always just listen to just kind of what's going on in the world, just trying to not tune in and really not fall asleep during a midnight shift.
Yeah,
but
they've done that.
And I listened to a lot of Zelensky side, and then when Tucker Carlson got Putin, I listened to that, and I was all like that was a top. That's why
I listened to that interview too.
That was a solid interview, not for a pro Putin, but just kind of a pro
he's not going anywhere. You got to understand him,
Yeah, and so that was just something that I'm all wow, that's something that that's the type of news we need to hear.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, not saying that I'm a big Tucker Carlson is law, but he does push a lot lot of boundaries because he cares. Yeah. Because he cares about this country.
Sure.
And so whether you love him or hate him, he wants the best for America. Now, does he he does a lot of things old fashioned. I think he still has a flip phone, but he that's somebody that when I watched that, I was like, man, this dude generally cares. So
yeah, I think so.
And obviously he's wide right. And there's not everything or something that he says every time he says something that I 100% agree with, but I'm all like, man, that dude cares enough to push the limits a little bit. I should probably listen to something that he has to say.
And there's only so much time in the day. I watch him more. He's on Fox. I get his monologue for sure every night, honestly. But since he got his podcast, I do listen to some of them. I listen to the Putin interview, and Putin is a bad guy. So comparing him to us is different. But they've had so many agreements, don't push up on our border, don't push up on our border. And supposedly there was a Russian puppet government in there in 2014, and us in Europe toppled it and put their guy in. He said, if you do that, I'm taking Crimea. They did. He did. He took Crimea. And then he said, look, Ukraine's not joining NATO. Yeah. If I think you're going to join NATO, I'm taking them. He goes, you guys aren't coming on my borders. You said you're not. So, I think Kamala Harris, a month before, was kind of hitting at NATO. She's over in Ukraine or somewhere in Europe, and she was hitting at Ukraine, maybe joining NATO. He was over there within a month or two. Yeah. So, he tells you what he's going to do.
Yeah, he's a horrible dude.
And I hate to say it, the American left is called. They've had the mean girl approach. They call him names. They call him names. It's not going to do any good. He doesn't care. He don't respect you guys. Yeah. Have you ever heard him talk about Western liberals? He thinks they're a joke. He can't stand their views, and he thinks they're just a joke, and he's not going to listen to them. No. He bulldozed Obama with taking Crimea, bulldozed Biden. He didn't try Trump yet, did he? Oh, yeah. So, and all these people saying we can't let Putin win. What's your solution? No one's ever really given me a logical end to that. What's the resolution?
Yeah, and I think that's something that the new administration and that their live interview with Zelensky.
That was completely disrespectful of him to come over. The guy has no cards. He's losing the war. He's completely dependent on us for everything. Comes in, bosses Trump around. And I don't want to browbeat the guy over how he dresses. Okay, the guy had a custom fitted tracksuit on. Just wear a suit, man. I mean, you're not out in the war fighting. You don't have to wear that. Just wear a suit. Because he said, I'll wear a costume like a suit's a costume. Like that's how a statesman dresses. You're wearing a costume. You're wearing battle fatigues. You haven't been in the battle. You're the president.
Yeah.
So he was playing to the American left is what he was doing. And that'll get you killed in his situation because he's fighting a war. Mm-hmm. Okay. He got political points and, bad Trump, Putin puppet, the usual. But I just didn't understand that. This guy's not an impressive world leader.
The thing that was crazy is he tried to, when I was watching it, and I try to watch everything from both sides. I try to understand what the left's saying. I'm trying to understand what the right's saying. And in that, it was at one point he was trying to puff his chest and be well, test me. You just can't do that with Trump.
Well, and here's the thing too. I'm not trying to make fun of the guy. The guy's English isn't too good. He tried to out-alpha, the ultimate alpha argument guy, Donald Trump. And you don't even speak his language that good. Yeah, he got embarrassed. And then Vance delivered some good points. Yeah. And the thing is, too, they're if we let Russia take Ukraine or stay there, that China would just take Taiwan. And I'm just going to be completely honest with you. If China wants to take Taiwan, are we going to go knuckle it up with China? Are we going to give Taiwan endless supplies for war? Because even if we do, China would really crush them. They're not Russia. So, and what would China and Russia do if we wanted to take Mexico? We're not going to take Mexico, folks. I'm not saying that, okay? But I'm just giving you a comparison. If we want to take Mexico, we're a superpower. They're next to us. You're not going to do anything about it. So just people need to quit bluffing. I mean, we're not playing cards here. We're playing very deadly games of massive wars.
Yeah, I think Trump's the same way. When he was going into office, he's hey, I think this is why he won.
We're sick of war, right? Your generation, that's all you know.
Yeah.
I'll be 47. Okay, my adult life, that's all I know. Yeah. Some overseas conflict. That's all we know. Man, let's stop.
And I think we finally stopped the question we stopped asking, or we started asking the question why are we even there? And it's nobody has a solid answer.
And I'll tell you, man, I don't want to do right left too much, but the left wing in the country now was growing up really didn't sweat the Soviet Union when they were actually a way bigger threat. I think they had a bigger population now. The economy was about the same size. That very tough army. They weren't worried about the Soviet Union then. They said we were war hawks towards them. Now Russia, it's not even close to what the Soviet Union was power-wise. Now they think they're as bad as the old Soviet Union. I'm man, you guys are 40, 50, 60 years behind what actually is happening, They keep making these comparisons to old Russia. I mean, that was the Soviet Union, much bigger, much more powerful. And another thing that just aggravates me about this conflict, too, it's all these left-wing podcasters and politicians, they only know one comparison. It's Churchill versus Hitler. Churchill versus Hitler. Or the other one is schoolyard bully. That's not what the situation is at all. Putin doesn't have the power of Hitler. I think you can double-check my facts. I think 3 years in World War II, he had most of Europe. I mean, Putin doesn't even have Ukraine. He doesn't have the flex muscle that Hitler had back then. I'm sorry, Zelensky's not nearly as evil as Vladimir Putin, but he's no Winston Churchill. The guy's kind of a con man. So they're nothing like that conflict.
Yeah, this might not be a fact. I think he was a comedian before he was
he was in the entertainment industry. Yeah. Trump, maybe a comedic actor. Trump had some kind of insult.
But
Trump they called him an average comedian. Trump did some kind of insult to him. And that's the thing. Even if you don't like Trump's behavior, when you're a world leader, you got to watch how you talk to him. Yeah. Because he is the president of America. No matter you hate him or not, we're still a powerful country, best military, most money, most industry. You go insult the guy, you're going to have to, kiss his behind later just to make up with him because he's got all the cards. It's just, I don't get it. The American left tells you you're great for a news cycle, then you got to go grovel back to him. Zelensky sent him a letter basically agreeing with him, and he apologized to him. So what good did that little Oval Office fight do?
I think I don't know. And the fact that I'm kind of mixed feelings about the not the response necessarily, but how it was all televised. But I understand we're trying to let the people know what's going on.
Yeah.
And but I think he thought since it was televised, he could kind of go at Trump, and Trump would sit in and this is on TV. but that's not Trump.
Yeah, I don't. The whole thing was just bizarre. And like I said, I don't want to beat people over the head. When I show up to a county board meeting, man, it's the full county board meeting. When I do wear a suit every meeting, it's sport coat, nice slacks. I'm smoked, man. I worked all day. I got to go home and shower. Somehow tie a tie. I'm not really that good anyway. Tie a tie, pick something out. I don't feel like it, but I do. I'm already smoked at that point. This guy, he's probably ate at some real fancy joints, $200-$300 a plate, been chilling out since he's been in Washington, and then he shows up looking like that. That's what I tell you too, that him and Trump went out to lunch. Trump made him pick up his half of the check, and he's furious. I'm just making that up. that didn't happen. that didn't happen. That didn't happen. No, but it's just I was astonished by that. So
yeah. This may be an unanswerable question.
Sure.
But so what I strive for with and why I even started getting into kind of local politics is I'm all so when we think of politics in my generation, it's very, very, very divisive. And what are you talking
very,
about? Very divided. Yeah.
No, we do when I was your age. Because how old are you?
I'm 26.
Yeah, there's a big generation gap. When I was 26, we did not talk about politics.
Yeah. And so it's how do we get to a point where, let's say, if my buddy Colton here, I vote for one, he votes for another, where we can not be on both ends of the spectrum and just absolutely think well, since he's voting for that guy, I have to hate him. You know what I mean? How do we bring it to more of a connectedness within? And like I said, it could be an unanswerable question, but what would be your?
No, I think it's an easy answer. When you guys came over, I had my TV on. I was listening to music.
Right.
I was unplugging from politics. I was listening to My Chemical Romance. Do that remake of Desolation Row by Bob Dylan. Do you know that was a remake?
I don't know.
Yeah, you know that song, don't you, from the Watchmen movie? It's good, little punk rock, real fast anthem. It's a Bob Dylan song. It's real slow. But I'm not a Dylan guy. I'm a huge music fan, folks. But I never got him. He's got maybe one or two songs I can listen to. But My Chemical Romance did that remake of Desolation Row. Great song, better than anything he made, in my opinion. So I think just unplug, man. Listen to some music. Watch some entertainment. And like we talked about earlier, it's hard to get away from politics when you're trying to entertain yourself. Just completely unplug, man. That's what people got to do. And if you know that politics is a hot button issue, so much to life than that. You can be somebody's friend and don't have to agree with them politically. I don't think we're to the point to where politicians are so evil that you're backing one. I didn't like Biden. He's the worst president ever. But I don't, just because someone voted for him, I'm not going to dislike him.
Yeah.
It's not to the point to where Biden's ideas were, they were awful, but it's not like they were toxic enough to make me hate my fellow Americans for going along with them. So,
yeah. And for me, it's
people my age really, of course it happens. They don't tend to break friendships, maybe because they've been friends longer.
Yeah.
I mean, it does happen. I've lost friends, but it's
I said something about just not voting in the election. And it's just because it's literally, what it was my license was expired and I didn't. I just didn't get it done before I could, or get my address changed before the thing. So I'm like, I just won't vote this one. I
want you voting in the spring election.
Yeah. But and I made the joke y'all can't be mad at me. I didn't vote, just jokingly, and it was people were all you were the reason why this happened, and I'm all first off, no matter, and I know this is the closest it's ever been this year, ever, but no matter which way I vote in Illinois, it's usually going to be
it's going to be, yeah.
It's going to be.
But these local elections are hot.
Yeah,
they're hotly contested, man.
Yeah, but I had people coming at my neck just because I didn't vote in them. They're all it's so easy, you could have done it.
I'm not going to lie to you, man. I got a point. You got to vote.
Yeah.
All right, Colton. What do you think back there? Huh? Yeah, with this guy. I'm not voting.
But since I didn't vote in the presidential election, it was since you didn't vote, you're against us. And I'm also whoa, and
I don't care if you don't vote. I think every citizen should. But
yeah. And I agree to that. And it was just, this was the first one since I've been able to vote that I haven't voted in, And so it was I was just all you know what? It's crazy that the fact that even for someone who didn't vote, since you didn't vote, you're now the enemy. And it's well, it shouldn't be.
And I'll tell you, who's involved in politics, see how they act after they lose an election or after their candidates lose. I had some candidates lose in a primary or lost in one. the people who beat them and the people going against me on the other side, they're in charge and they're good people. We disagreed on a couple candidates. We're working together. We're fine. Go to meetings. We talk on the phone all the time. We have friendly relationships, even outside of politics. We'll talk about non-political stuff. Hey, you guys won. The public they like what you said more, honestly. They like what you said more. You ran better campaigns. I'm going to work with you because that's what the voters want. I don't care. Like some of the people I used to spar on the board floor with, people like, oh, you hate each other. I'm like, no, cool. I went out and bought the guy pizza after the last meeting. We're good. We work together. They're good guys. We had some political disagreements. They're good guys, great women, good people.
Yeah.
I mean, I got an argument with few people and arguments happen on the board floor. There's 26 personalities, both men and women. They're arguing with each other. And
26 different backgrounds.
Right. And then they're all like competitive enough people to run for an election. So, I mean, you talk about things after the meeting, you resolve it. The people who are good sports about it, and most of them are.
Yeah.
Outside of a few, but it's not even really noticeable.
Yeah. And so, we'll kind of, we're approaching we're a little bit over the hour mark, but I'll end with this. So me as a young voter,
right. You want to wrap up the local elections?
Well, local elections is like something that when I think about, and I've said this in the last two, is like something that my grandparents would vote in. It's not something that like a young voter thinks.
Right.
About. So why should a young voter think more about what's happening literally in their city? And I know that kind of answers itself.
Because your taxes and all your zoning codes, everything, what kind of fence you can put in your yard, what you're going to pay in property tax, what you're going to pay in a township tax, what you're going to pay in a library tax. It's all in local elections. It is.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to do it. What project's going to go through the city council? Is it going to be that new rooftop bar you wanted? Or it's going to be, something else? I mean, all that stuff matters. The whole outlay of your town depends on these local elections.
Yeah. What's happened, like the building of everything at the high school, is that through, like, do you guys vote on that stuff too?
On the county, depends what it is. A lot of it's through the city.
Okay.
Depends what it is.
Because I know they're doing the new CAVC center.
Yeah, I like what's going on. I like what's going on with the high school. I like what's going on with the Unit 10. Brad Scripps is a good guy. We have a great working relationship. He cares about the community.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I'm sure he talks to his elected officials more than a superintendent in the county. He really cares.
Yeah.
He's the one that's spoken to board floor. No, I take that back. Others have, but he's recently spoke on the board floor about a very important Collinsville issue. I was really impressed. So
yeah, he's a good dude. I love coaching for his district.
I can. Yeah, I hope he stays for a while. He's about my age. Hopefully he can stay here another, who knows, 20 years. He wants to.
But I didn't know if like those stuff, if it was
it really depends what
just
it is.
sitting. Okay, I got you. So what's something that is in the works right now that you're excited about for like the county or however that is?
What I like in the county is that Chairman Slusser has a good vision to bring businesses back here. He will call you and he will put work in like, hey, this gas station needs to go up. That's tax revenue for the area. We've had a flat tax rate in the county since the Republicans took it over. It was low. Now it's flat. So it's like he wants to keep taxes low, wants to keep affordability. He wants us to spend responsibly, and he wants to bring business to Madison County because Illinois is a very tough place to do business in, but he's trying to isolate Madison County from that and make it a business hub. So we've approved some good projects since he's been the chairman. He cares about it. He calls.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he cares. This is what he wants to do. He really wants to leave, good legacy and set the county up good. Because sometimes people just don't want to leave Illinois. They want to leave certain parts of it. Come to Madison County.
Yeah.
We're a nice place to live.
Yeah. And since I moved here, it's been
yeah, I mean, our state's attorney's office is impressive too. Like a lot of places, in recent times, like they seem not to prosecute criminals. It's kind of bizarre to me. Like they let them go with these stiffs without giving them a stiff sentence for something they need.
Yeah.
That's on me. I mean, the sheriff's department, all our local police departments, major case squad to come in, they'll solve the cases. I think we prosecuted more felonies than St. Louis and Madison County. Obviously, they have more felonies, but we actually care to prosecute them. And because people talk about, they want these harder gun laws, and we're a sanctuary county for like some of the strict gun laws, but we're not a sanctuary county for criminals like Cook County our prosecution rate for gun crimes, it's hard to break it down because Cook County kind of masks it because they're not private. It's like triple what theirs is. We actually prosecute criminals. We're not a sanctuary county for criminals like Cook County.
Yeah.
We have encampment bans all over the county. Homeless people can't sleep everywhere. I feel bad for them, but they shouldn't sleep on public property. They can do that in other parts of the state. So we're a sanctuary city and county for its law-abiding citizens.
Yeah. So for like so when I was in high school, it talked about how, and this might not be relevant to what we were talking about, but I just remembered it. So at the civil case, like Madison County was the place you would go to get a civil case going. Is that still the?
We've had a lot of judges change over. I think we're going to have a more on the level. I don't know about every case. I think our judges are very much on the level now. Madison County's on the up and up for that.
Yeah, I think.
I said if you look at it, there's no judge making crazy rulings or grandstanding. Like I said, we prosecute so many criminals. There's no judge going off the rails and giving somebody a light sentence.
Yeah, and they didn't talk about like criminal cases as much as they just said like, hey, if you want to sue, do it in Madison County. Like that's
sure, that's the ramp. I don't know. I just don't know. We're getting new judges and. I mean, that's a rumor. I just don't know a lot of people who sued a lot of people around here got a lot of money. That is the urban legend.
Yeah.
I think there's probably less truth to it now than ever. Okay. I think if you lose a lawsuit in Madison County, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And the thing is about Madison County, adult juries usually make the decision. So why are our juries picking these?
Yeah.
Maybe their argument is, well, let more stuff go through that shouldn't. I don't know. But I think we have a great judicial system now. It's really changed over the years. So,
so since you oversee Maryville, parts of Maryville, parts of Collinsville, is there anything within those two communities that you're excited about?
Maryville's I'm excited about their Americana Wayne White. I am supporting him, along with a lot of other elected officials, including Sheriff Connor, city or county board member Chris Guy. Also, he's got most of Maryville. I got 2 precincts. But just all the good projects in the neighborhoods in Maryville, and they're getting for a town that size, we're getting a lot of new business too. And neighborhood for neighborhood, man, they're nice, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I mean,
that was on our.
I like
to move places.
I like the Collinsville Maryville connection we got. How we're connected.
It doesn't seem like it's 2 different towns. Like people are like, what? Like that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, even parts of Caseyville, it doesn't feel like Caseyville's not Collinsville, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a little further about, but Caseyville, I've campaigned there. Those great group of people.
Which I know they're St. Clair, but
it's a little bizarre. Parts are St. Clair, maybe a little bit's Madison County, and they with our schools too. It's I mean, this is a very great area. I'm very excited about everything.
Yeah, well, I love our and why I push for my kids to want to go not just want to go to Collinsville. Why I want them to go to Collinsville is it's like I feel like we have one of the most diverse schools in maybe to say that maybe in America. It's like completely 1/3.
Well, and the thing is, it's a unified school. Kids get along. The community gets along.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's diverse and it's unified.
Diversity. You can't beat that combination.
Yeah, because you got everybody from kids who are English language learners to kids who dads are lawyers, doctors, stuff like that, and then you got everybody
police officers, school teachers, it's service workers.
It's amazing, but awesome. Well, thank you so much for hit me up and jumping on. Is there anything else for just closing that
you didn't ask me about the library board elections? I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this
slipped my mind.
No. We've been talking for a while. We talked before this, so great conversation. We could talk all day. And here's the thing about the library board. Mm-hmm. It's been a hot button issue. You know it.
Yeah.
Colton knows it. Everybody in the area knows it. The election should be pretty easy. Kathy Murphy's running to get reelected. Since they took over the board 2 years ago, they made right around $100,000 in investments in the same amount of time the previous board they beat. I think they made $500.
Yeah.
So think if a corporation had that kind of turnaround, they'd be on every magazine having to do with the financial industry, the the CEO and the board would be geniuses, and they would just be, on all kinds of, money line, every kind of financial thing, Dave. So, I mean, they've done a good job. We had a flat tax levy this year. That's unheard of for most governing bodies, let alone a library. They're doing a good job. I mean, you've been to our library. It's just a simple library. Yeah. It's what a library is supposed to be.
We take our kids there just because it's a nice place to.
And I think
a play area for them, and
I can't
do stuff there.
From what I've read about some of the other candidates, I'm gonna listen to. I think one guy's name is Benjamin Wells, and the other lady running, the first name's Shannon. Her last name escapes me. But I just read their stuff. It seemed like, not mean, but they just seem like they don't like the way, like axe to grind, but not in a mean way, like with the new board that took over 2 years ago, I don't know. They didn't talk about how the board increased the finances, a flat tax levy. They said, basically they think they think the new board wants to push their beliefs on the community. I don't believe they do. They're Christian. And I don't believe that's the case. They're not trying to turn it into a church. It's just a library. It's well run. It's, the finances are good. I mean, what else do you want? I'm not sure. And it's almost like that they want to, and then the other one's Ian Green. He said some really outrageous things in public comments. He's talked about his sexual orientation. They talked about his family. None of that's relevant. I don't want to hear about that. I mean, one public meeting, he described himself as queer. Then he's talked about his family on his daughter and his wife on his bio. So I'm like, either one's fine. That's not the way you tell people like that publicly in public comment. He had some pretty disparaging things to say about the Immaculate Conception, the birth of Jesus Christ. I'm not going to say them here. They're on a November 23rd, November 2023 library board meeting. He seems like he's hostile towards voters of faith, kind of mean-spirited towards the old board. And you could have some of those board members on your podcast or, interview them. They've just been harassed. I mean, all I'm going to say about that, with the controversy there, you think one side's bad, listen to the public comments. The way they attack these women, and most of them are over 60. I mean, you would think Mao's a board member. You would think Hitler's a board member. You'd think Stalin's a board member. You'd think Attila the Hun's a board member. They've called them fascists, Nazis. Those really attack them. There's no place for that.
On the public library?
They've said this in the public comments. I'm not making stuff up. You can go back. So
no, I'm just saying about the public.
Yeah, about the library board members, the trustees, and the president. They just go at them, man. And I don't think there's any place for that. If they don't like their policies or maybe some of the things they're doing, I totally understand that. But the gloves off, brutal name calling. So to the other candidates, what are you going to do? I mean, are you going to do better with money? You're going to invest money better? You're going to have flat tax levies like they've had? And the thing is, what started all this controversy, I'm sure you heard 3 years ago, the library board that lost to this one running it now, they wanted to put a drag queen in the library. Okay. People didn't like that.
Yeah.
And this is really embarrassing for Collinsville. What happened in the fall? A satanic book got put on the shelf in the library, and didn't do it proper protocol, so it got pulled. I showed you that screenshot. They had a day of action right after, and So it seems like other people want to push what I think are fringe ideas of maybe putting, a satanic book in the library. I want to see what the other ones comment about that. Mr. Green already commented he wanted the satanic book in the library at Satan's altar. I want to see what their comments are. Do you want to do stuff like a drag queen story hour? Do you want to put a satanic book in our library? And more importantly, that's the pizzazz. That's what everybody likes to talk about. Yeah. But the real meat and potatoes issues, what are you going to do about the finances? Mm-hmm. Like I told you, the tax levies. You going to invest money as good as them? Or what are you going to do to make the library run more efficiently? I mean, your social issues are fine. Mm-hmm. I just don't think they belong in government institutions. You can do them in your free time if you want,
Yeah.
That's just my take on it. I don't think the people in the Collinsville, the Mississippi Valley Library District, that's what it would be, Fairmount City, parts of State Park, Collinsville. I just don't think that they want to put drag queens and satanic books in the library. Yeah, I just don't think that's high on their priority list.
Yeah, I would say one that baffles me that it's about like a library board.
I'm not making this up.
No,
I showed you the Facebook
you showed me
post,
this.
man. We were on the Channel 4 News. You can YouTube it. All you watching, you can YouTube Satanic Book in Collinsville Library. It's going to come up. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm saying more like the action to like I would have never thought like so much controversy over a public library. You know.
Well, yeah, and we've discussed this too, even before this, that like some people are having buyer's remorse because I've called people out on wanting to put this book in the library. Because I remember at the time I screenshot what they said about putting the book in there. Maybe they're having buyer's remorse. Some people are backpedaling, but some people aren't. So you guys said it. I get you're trying to maybe get a rise out of some certain elected officials, because I've spoke out against them trying to get a rise out of me, weaken me for the election, which didn't work. I won anyway. But I made her trying to get a rise out of this library board to get them to do something for this election, but it just didn't work. And people are like, huh, Satanic Book in the library.
Yeah.
I think that's about as unpopular as initiatives you can get.
Yeah. And that baffles me. And that's crazy that, so, and reading those messages that you sent me, just people like, completely just.
Let me say the candidates' names before we get off. It's Kathy Murphy, she's running for re-election. Ken Norsworthy and Kelly Reeder. They are great candidates.
Yeah.
You know, Kathy's doing a fine job. Why would you replace her? And the other two are just completely on board with her. So they want to keep the financial responsibilities going. They want to keep the library going. They just want to keep the social and the agendas just out of the library. You know, there's time and place for everything. I'm not saying that these people who want satanic books and drag queens, I'm not saying you got to banish them from society. I just don't think the library is the right place for it.
No, definitely the library is a place to go. I would say to go to learn. You know what I mean? To learn and not to, like, it almost is like, why are we, like, to read about politics, learn about politics, but not make it a social thing. Like,
going back to what we talked about earlier with democracy, one elected official said, I wasn't aware of the Constitution or the law that it wasn't illegal to put the Satanic Book in the library, and they're right. But also, should we put the Satanic Book in the library? And more importantly, do our voters want that in the library? And you talked about democracy a lot too, this elected official. We don't have democracy. It's a constitutional republic. So you're talking about the law and the Constitution, but then the word democracy is not mentioned in the Constitution.
I mean, if it's a religion based thing, like, and obviously not saying like, hey, I agree with their religious text that they want to put in, but that's if you go through the right ways to put it in there, then and if it's something that the community wants as a whole, then shoot, maybe, but no, not at the rate of like basically saying I'm going to show up and beat these poor old ladies up, pour these poor ladies up. Like that's crazy.
Yep. Well, that's life. I mean, that's what you got to deal with this election. Regardless, win, lose, or draw in these institutions, these people that I backed or I didn't back, I'll work with anybody if they win. They're like, if they're not going anywhere, just because maybe I didn't want them to win doesn't mean I can't work with them.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's how it should be.
Right.
Like,
none of this is personal to me, folks. This is all policy. What you guys do in your private lives or personal, I'm not going to trash you like that, but I just don't agree with your policies.
No, that's why that's how it should be. Like, hey, we might have different points of view on everything. Like, I'm sure if we went out, like, we went down the list of like everything.
Sure.
That you want everything that I want, we would disagree. But at the same time, I'm not a guy that's going to be like, hey, just because
you don't make my blood boil.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's insane, especially for a public library campaign.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I said the campaign so far haven't been too bad. I mean, they've said some things about the board, but nothing too hateful. They just said they're trying to push their beliefs on us, on a community, which I think it's a complete opposite. I think the other candidates have very far left fringe views that they want to mainstream. And the Collinsville area is just not into that. I don't think they haven't been in his last 5 elections. So time will tell. We'll see who runs the best campaign to see what the voters want. Yeah. They're our bosses. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Wow. Dang.
Well, it was a good conversation.
It was, man.
Let's do it again,
Thank you so much for
I'll come over do another talk after the election.
All right, we'll talk about everything that's going to go down.
All right, brother. Good seeing you guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. How was that?
It was good.
I didn't say anything.